people in here.
Doug, just a quick question. Can you hear me all right?
I can, yeah.
Okay, great.
All right. Couple more minutes.
Doug, we have a question about keeping mics muted and asking questions in chat.
Yes. So there is going to be a moderated discussion with myself and our 5 panelists. And so for right now, please, in the audience, just stay muted. And then in that discussion, until we go to an actual open like Q&A, please just ask questions through the chat, and Max Benitez, our production specialist, will call them out if they're relevant within that moment. And then afterwards, we'll do a Q&A where we can use a combination of raising your hand, which everyone should see under the participants section. You should have an option for raising your hand at the very bottom. And then also you can add to the Slack if you want. Or sorry, add to the chat here if you want. We've got 28 people in. Nope. Tom Booker's coming down. All right. I think we can go ahead and get started. So first off, I just want to thank everybody for attending. This is a great turnout. It's just great to see everyone's face and be in a room together, even if it's virtual. Just a quick update on our operations. We just met with our contract manager with the city of Austin. And on August 14th, the Mayor Adler extended the city's stay-at-home order through December 15th. And so Austin Public, being a city facility, we will continue to remain closed to the public during the stay-at-home order. However, we were approved for checking out gear for training. That's something that we will start in October. We do have a few camera classes, and I also just posted an Adobe Premiere class. And so that is something that we will be able to check out gear for. So you'll be able to take home a camera for a few days, take a class if you need certification on that. And then also we have some new gear that we purchased for the editing classes. So if anyone signs up for an editing class, you'll be sent home with an iMac and as well as a second monitor. And so you can see the Zoom call and have the software up and running, and that'll be for a 4-day period. And then for November, I'm working on the schedule right now. I will have a Final Cut class posted, and I'm trying to get a Pro Tools class scheduled as well. So any other questions about that, I'm happy to discuss afterwards or in an email. We will send out an email to all producers either tonight or tomorrow with that update. But as always, we'll continue to program the 3 channels and provide workflows for streaming remotely. So that's why this panel here is going to be very helpful to those who want to learn how to do that or do it better. And just a heads up, as I mentioned, we're recording this forum for future use for other producers who weren't here to be able to see it. I will say that I don't know if I'll have time in this because I want to save time for the discussion and Q&A, but we have bought a very large order of production gear that has come in today and tomorrow. And then there's another order I'm putting through, and we've gone after a lot of like a multicam kit type gear for remote productions. And so we're going to work towards getting that inventoried and trained in the month or so coming. So just know that that's something that we're focusing on. We've bought some software also. We've bought StreamYard. We're looking into Restream, which you'll hear, people sing Restream's praises in this forum. And so I have a demo with Restream tomorrow And so this gear and the software will be made available right away. If anybody has any interest in StreamYard and potentially in a week or so restream, please reach out to me, and that'll also be in an email to producers. But once we can train this gear, the multicam kits, then our goal would be to eventually, once we're able to, check that gear out to people as well. All right, admit somebody else. So we can start with the forum, but just first as like a definition. So streaming refers to any media content, live or recorded, that is delivered to a computer or mobile device, and it's delivered remotely or via the internet and played back in real time. So anything you're watching that's a podcast or an online video, movie, TV show, concert, church service, that is streaming over the internet to your device. And so before COVID-19, you had two choices at Austin Public. You could be on site on the studios, and you could be sending your show out to the world through our distribution platform, or you could be provide us a pre-recorded show, and then we would air that, and that would go on the channels. But now, since our closure, we've kind of reverse engineered it to where anyone at home or out in the field can send us a stream directly to the channels remotely. And that is also streaming out on the cable channels and on the Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire apps for Austin Public. So, all right. If you have, so basically what you need is you need an internet connection, you need a computer, and you need a software, you need a way of streaming. And so OBS is free. I know early on we pitched OBS as an idea. We posted some training videos on that. And as I mentioned, we bought StreamYard, and hopefully soon Restream will be an option. So just know that if you have a computer internet source and then OBS is free, you're able to send us a stream remotely. But what we have today is we have 5 producers who are here to explain their current workflows for their remote stream of their shows. So they had been doing shows on site, and then now we're kind of focused more on remote streaming. And so we'll start out with a moderated conversation with myself and the 5 panelists, and then we'll open it up to questions from everybody here. As mentioned before, if you have any questions during like the moderated discussion, please use the chat function, and Max Benitez, our production specialist, will shout it out if it's relevant to that discussion at that time. So cool, I'm gonna let each panelist just do a real quick introduction of themselves, and we'll get going with some questions. So Gavin, do you wanna kick it off?
Yeah, I'm Gavin Stone, and I can't even tell you how long I've been a producer down there. I think it's been 7, 8 years, maybe more. And we've used all the studios to go live from 1, 2, and 3. We used to hop studios 1 and 2. And before this all happened, we were pretty much attached to the hip to Studio One. And then coming from home, we had to really learn to do things a lot differently, but we found it works, and there's a lot of good options for it.
Awesome. Brandon?
Hey, I'm Brandon Mitchell. I produce Emergency Exit podcast out of Studio 3. It was Studio 2 for a little bit when we had another producer on our team. We no longer had him, and now COVID. So if and when we get back to it, it'll be out of Studio 3. I've been, I guess, creeping up on a year in November. I've been part of the program.
Awesome. Jeremy?
Been a producer since 2003. In fact, I see Ross up there, and he was actually working at Cable Access back then. So we used to do a live show then, and we actually streamed back then from the studio. We used to have to take in our own computer to do so, but we weren't the first show to do it, but we were the show that was doing it during those early 2000s. And now we do a pre-recorded show for the church that I work at, Calvary South Austin. And we also do a live show once a month on a Thursday. So it's a call-in show too.
All right. Claudia? Oh, you're muted.
Hi, my name is Claudia Ingram, and I've been a producer since 2010. And I've been doing shows in series and the pre-recording ones. And now I've been doing the shows that are live from home.
All right, and Cole.
Hey, I'm Cole Knoppenberg, and I've been producing for a couple years now in both Studio One and Studio Two. And you've been using OBS Studio to send Double Take Matinee on Sundays.
Great. All right, so let's talk streaming platforms first. So Cole had mentioned OBS. I had mentioned OBS as well. It's free. I guess let me just kick it off to Gavin. It seems like you have a really good history of like trying out different things. Even listed a couple that I had never heard of as far as you streaming out to. So you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I've got very techie crew who like to figure out things together. That's how I was brought into Restream and StreamYard. And I can't praise Restream enough because I use it to propagate my shows to places, and they're always on top of the best places to go. Like they added DLive, which is this up and coming gaming stream platform where it's all talk shows and pop culture shows and people playing games. You want to go to Russia, they've got lots of Russia sites. Like they have so many things that you can go out to. This is why I really enjoy that one. But I think at the end of the day, there's a major difference in what you want to do. If you want to make it easy, use StreamYard or Restream. If you want to have, like, I like to control every aspect of it, so that's why I like OBS, but I use Manicam because I want to be able to customize every little thing down to my most minute detail. So I use Manicam mixed with Restream, and I just kind of just go.
So Restream has options. So, if I use something like StreamYard and I go into it, I have to tell it where I want it to go, something like my YouTube page or my Facebook page. But if you go into Restream, it gives you options of, random places to send it out into the world.
Yeah, the best part about it is depending on what level you have. Like right now, I can go to 5 Facebook pages at once. I can go to 5 YouTubes at once. I can go to 5 RMTP sources at once. Like whatever they have, I can do 5 of each one. So normally when we do our shows, we're going to 8 or 9 locations at once. And it's been really interesting to see how the audience falls into where it comes in, because it also pulls all of the chats into one. So you see what everybody's saying, and it populates those chats in the other platforms except for Facebook because it's Facebook. So if someone comments on YouTube, it feeds it to Twitch. If someone comments on Twitch, it feeds it to YouTube. So all your chats are in one place. You can just respond and go with it. But the other thing I found is I like things to look and run specifically. So I have a ShadowTech computer. Shadow.tech, it's a cloud computer. It's top-of-the-line gaming computer for life. And all you need is an app and an internet to get access to it. It's a full production PC. It's just you. So all of my Adobe stuff is on there. I run all of my shows off of there. I just log into Skype on my laptop, go right into Manicam. It's all there. I can broadcast in 4K, no problem. And that's how I do it. I like the speed because my computer's just basic. Okay, most of us just have basic computers. So with ShadowTech, I just log into my computer and it's all there. And that's how I run it. And that's how I get such smooth streams.
Awesome. Yeah, and we're tracking the comments and stuff too. So we'll send out a list of all this stuff if it seems a little overwhelming. But I guess let me pivot, and I'm interested to know from Claudia and Brandon about your workflow with hosting, a discussion through Google Meet or Zoom, and then using another software to then stream that out. Because I think Caster is something that Claudia has used, and then Brandon, you also use Restream. So Brandon, you want to kick that off? You want to start? Just kind of mention how you use Zoom or Google Meet, and then attach it into another software.
As far as like having a remote guest?
Yeah. So you had mentioned it. The questionnaire I sent out that you prefer Google Hangout
Yeah.
for your guests, or if they prefer Zoom, then you'll use Zoom. So how do you use Zoom in tandem with, or in Google Meet in tandem with Restream?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the setup that I have on that, over off to my side, I've got just a second monitor that is, run through my computer, and whatever they have, their camera, I will essentially create like a mirror display in OBS. And so it picks up only that display, and I'll crop it out. So that way there's no title bar or anything, and it's just them, and I can put my own title with their name or graphic or something, on it through OBS. So it's just a display capture. And then this display to the side is also being mirrored to what the guys would see, which over here to my left. is their desk, but there's also a mirror a mirrored monitor out of frame, so that way they can still make contact with the main camera, but still look at the guest, essentially, head on, so that, we don't get a whole bunch of, turning to the side and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Right now. All right. Claudia, do you want to talk a little bit about your workflow for streaming?
Yes, I use the OBS for all the streaming, but and then I give to all my guests the Zoom, so then everybody get connected in Zoom. So in Zoom, we can get 100 people and everything fit in the screen. And then I use it the capture of the screen in OBS, and I crop it all around so I can have only the people who is going to be in the panel talking. And then I am able to put some kind of text in the button or some kind of picture. Like I put a lot of pictures of Jesus and Virgin Mary, so I can put pictures of Jesus and Virgin Mary. And there is a very simple way to use in Zoom, because in Zoom, people can get it by the telephone, by iPad, by computer. It's really portable and it's very easy. Only you can tell to the people how to get Zoom, and it's free. And then when they already have the app in the telephone, in the computer, I use only giving the meeting room, the password, and we get all together. And from there, I send everything that I have in the screen, I send it to Caster. And in Caster, I can pick over there where I want to send. So I send it to Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and all the media that I can send it, and I send it to the TV channel too. So, it's very easy if you have a lot of people that want to come into your show, then you use Zoom. Because in Zoom, you can have as many guests as you want it. There is no limit. And then you communicate with them by the text, like you are communicating with us right now. And then it's very easy. Like I can say to somebody, okay, Crystal, it's time for you to do this. Or Mary, it's time for you to do this. And they get ready because I already communicated and nobody's noticed what is going on, because we are just looking to the screen, looking to the camera. So I recommend it that you use Zoom if you have a lot of people that are going to be in your show. I don't know if you have any questions.
Awesome. Yeah. And I said, we'll give a list out, but Caster, is it spelled C-A-S-T-R? Can y'all confirm? Is that?
Caster is a C-A-S-T-R. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Cole, and then I'll finish up with Jeremy. But Cole, do you want to kind of segue into your use of OBS?
Yeah, one of the important things I'd like to point out about OBS is that you can ratchet down the bandwidth, and you can do that on the fly. So when I was sending from Europe, if the conditions were not sufficient for high resolution, I could still get a transmission through and just dial that as I was broadcasting. I could also use OBS to point to pre-recorded things that were on different servers. So I could queue up and play things that were actually coming from a different source, and they just get ping-ponged through your broadcast of OBS. And then lastly, if you're on a device, on a mobile device or something where the amount of computing going on is important, if what you're doing in OBS doesn't require video, if it's only voiceover or something like this, if your scene never sets up information coming from a camera, it's using a lot less of the computer. So you're running a lot better, or you're not using your battery as quickly.
Awesome. And then Jeremy, you want to finish up? I wasn't quite aware of what you wrote in that questionnaire about what you use. So.
So what we use is, so we're a church, and so we had to immediately start live streaming our Sunday services, and we had to keep under 10 people in the church building at the time. And so we started streaming. We used a not very expensive device. It's it's from Game Capture. It's the HD60S Elgato, and bought one of these like at Target or something like that, because at the time everybody went and bought streaming devices, so I could barely get a hold of anything. So we just went with whatever we could, and we started with OBS, but it was more than what we needed because we're a church. We have a camera already, we have a switcher already, we have a studio, right, for the most part, except we just needed to get out. And so we had a little bit of bugginess early on. So we just ended up going with game capture software, free software. And, everything worked out. We were restreaming, using Restream for a while because we wanted to go to Facebook and YouTube and a couple other places. And it does, I agree. It's a great software. We ended up just a month ago not using it anymore, only because for us, most of our audience was coming from YouTube or our website. And we'd get like 1 or 2 people from our Facebook. And we have like over 2,000 people on our Facebook page, but they weren't watching from there for some reason. So that was just for us. Other than that, we would have continued using it. So yeah, that's what we do. That's what we're using.
Awesome. And I guess if anybody has any questions about these specifically, we can do that, talk about that in the Q&A at the end. I will mention that Claudia, Jeremy, and Gavin mentioned that they are streaming more than once a week. And then Brandon and Cole about weekly is what they're doing. And all right, cool. Let's jump into gear setup. So there's some more advanced setups and there's some more basic setups. I don't know if we have the time to jump into everybody's setup, but I think based on what I saw, talking to you all, I'd like to hear Brandon's perspective on coming from Studio 3, which is already a small podcast studio, into your home production. And what do you have to have in your home right now to do what you to the best of your ability, what you're doing in Studio 3?
I mean, it can be done with, kind of basic. I mean, I started with a Sony camcorder was my camera for the longest when we were doing it, with just an HD capture card running into my computer, and I was pulling audio from just a small mixer. We only had 2, maybe 3 mics set up if I was going to talk on it, so it was real simple, not very complicated. But as this COVID thing happened, I kind of upgraded. I recently got a newer, better camera just so we can get higher quality, and the thing that's probably made my life easier just as a producer is, we take our show, the TV version, essentially send it out as a podcast. So it was always a pain for a while that I would have to just pull the audio from the video, and then I would have to go through and clean things up and do what I need to do for the podcast. But everything was already all one track, and recording multi-track was kind of out of my grasp at the time as far as technology. And then I recently got a Rode, the Rodecaster Pro, which now I have all of my audio routing through that. So it also functions as a USB interface. So OBS can still pick up that audio, but I can also record on board multi-track. So I've already got the podcast, every track recorded, the video's already sent out and saved. So I don't have to take that time and separate that audio and then import it into my my software. It's already there. I just have to transfer it over, clean it up, and send it out. But it can be done, I mean, a lot more simply than that. This is it's made it easier and faster.
And I'm going to jump over to Claudia. I know that you had mentioned that you were using an iPhone and also a webcam, and you also have a great green screen setup there. Do you want to talk a little bit about your gear and your setup at home there? I believe, are you in your kitchen? You're muted.
Yes, I am in my kitchen right now in a small corner. So then I put a green screen in my back, and I put a green cover in my chair too, so then it can disappear. And I have one small Logitech camera, but I can use the camera of the computer too if I want it. Like if I want to do like a double camera, I can do it in double camera. And then when I am in live, I need to check Facebook. I need to check YouTube. So then I use the telephone for checking the TV channel if I am in live. I'm using an iPad to check if I am in Facebook, because I don't want to put all that windows open in one computer because it not get frozen or get a lot of troubles. So then I try to distribute all the other streaming in different devices. So then I try to use only in my computer, only the OBS only OBS and the Zoom. Because even Caster, I use it in another computer. I have an old computer, very, very old computer, then I only use it for I can get over there, click the button for putting on all the options that I am going to stream it. And then I have another screen that my husband buy me, so I can put it over there, so I can spread all the screens, so I am not everything only in one place, because I have one laptop, so I don't want to get everything. But it's really very simple. We don't need too much stuff. We can just get the camera, and even I don't have an extra microphone. I am using the microphone of the computer. I tried to put the extra microphone, but that was more work, so I says it's okay. It's better in that way. So it's easy to set it up. And then because the light, I have my window, a window of my kitchen is getting to my right, but it's not too much light in one side. So then I buy the lights. Then there are lights for cameras, for taking pictures. So I got a kit of that one. Then there's 3 lights. And then I put it around me, so then my light can be more even. But I can still like disappear, look, because my space is very small one here. But look good.
Yeah, that's good. You know, I love when all this early on was happening. I love how, and it's still happening, and that it's all the like the high-end production shows and like the nightly shows and stuff are all just, you know, I was watching Jimmy Fallon do a show in his basement, you know, early on, and then you have, you know, some good news by John Krasinski and stuff, and all these things are looking so, you know, just like they're not in these huge expensive sets and stuff. Everyone's at home, so I think it's just fun how it's kind of leveled the playing field here. But to kind of pivot on that, Jeremy, I'd be interested to hear your setup for anybody who's in attendance that does work for an organization or a church. Just talk a little bit about maybe your team, because I think you had a little bit more of a production team there, whereas others are doing it individually. Just talk a little bit about the gear that you have and the team that you need to produce your show.
Well, yeah, and that's what's funny for us is like we were for so long the pastor wanted to do this live call-in show. That's what we used to do back in the day, and we were just like, well, we need to develop a team. We need to get the team together, and we need to, you know, what day we're going to go down to the studio and all this kind of stuff. And he's got no time, and I've got no time, and all this stuff. And then lo and behold, we had a studio here the whole time, and we had a team here the whole time. We didn't have to up and go down to the studio, and it just kind of all clicked for us, I guess. We have a Blackmagic mini studio camera that we use to record our services anyways. And that's what we put our show on Saturdays, the Calvary Uplink. It's a pre-recorded show. So we already had that set up. We have an iMac and a ATM Production Studio 4K, which is a software switcher based, you know, so we switch in the iMac, and it's an interface with a Blackmagic Studio. And we bring in the signal from our PowerPoint computer for the worship lyrics and Bible, any PowerPoints that we put up. And so we use that for our sermons and for that show. But since we're doing this live call-in show, we'll put up PowerPoints and information that's needed, graphics and whatever for as they're doing the live call-in show as well. And so we already had everything set up here. We have we use 2 iMacs, the PowerPoint one, and then the one to switch the video gear that is coming from the ATM Production Studio switcher software interface. The Blackmagic Mini Studio camera, and we actually want to get another camera because right now it's a 1-camera production, and we'd like to get another one so we can cut back and forth between that and the PowerPoints or graphics of whatever we need. We have audio gear, which is from it's a church sound booth basically. So we have our soundboard, which is a digital Yamaha. And so we end up having our crew. We just had them come up once a month on a Thursday, which worked out for everybody. So we have a sound guy, we have a PowerPoint person, we have the video switcher, and then we have the pastor and then another gentleman who's a host as well. And we already had our light set up on the stage. And so it makes, and that was the other thing. If we were going to go down to the studio back when we used to go down in 2002 or 3, 4, and 5, we used to, have to do our own lights there. We'd have to set up the background. We'd have to bring in, we brought in a sofa. It was like a talk show host kind of thing. And so we had a sofa, a desk, and all this kind of gear. And it would take us like an hour and a half to 2 hours to get set up and stuff or something like that. And now we can walk in and just roll it. And so if you already have the facility, you know, and you can just get your team to come up on an extra day or, you know, a week or whatever it is, it works out. The one thing I will say, we ended up buying another iMac just for streaming, right? So that was, we were streaming off a laptop, and, you know, we would need it for other things every now and then. So we ended up just getting another iMac, and it's just dedicated for streaming. It's something that we'll carry from here on out, mostly for streaming purposes and whatnot.
Awesome.
It covers everything.
And real quick, before we move on to kind of engagement, audience, things like that, Gavin, Cole, anything that you want to add to it that you would like to?
I've kept my setup pretty basic. I live with a musician, so I've got cords and stuff everywhere, but all I use is a USB mic, a webcam, and a ring light, and that all goes into what I want to do. And the reason why I went with Manicam is because I wanted to be able to do multiple cameras, and it uses NDI technology. So on Skype, it pulls everyone's video as an individual source, and I think it can also work with the Google one, but I know it works for Skype, so I can manipulate all the videos, show just one person. It's not like you're seeing the whole screen. Plus, every cell phone becomes a camera source. You just download the app, log in, and every phone is a camera source. So there's lots and lots of options with that one, which is what I went with, but it's all very basic. It's all what you have around your house. So I love it.
Say that technology name again?
It's NDI. It's in Skype. But basically what it says is you can pull every video feed as an individual feed, and Manicam feeds the live studio feed. So they see what's going on, and they see the guests, so they're not lost. But when you're watching it, like you see the six of us, that would be 6 individual sources you can manipulate however you want it to. And so I know it's in Skype. I think it's in the Google Teams, and I think it's in Microsoft Teams, but I use Skype right now because that's the one I know.
Okay. Nicole, anything?
Yeah, whereas for anything live, I've gotten it down to just the one laptop. And so as long as that Windows 10 PC laptop runs OBS smoothly and uses the camera properly, it simplifies a lot of that. If I'm doing anything pre-recorded, I made a lot of my decisions based on what worked well in the studio as far as field equipment. So I shoot on, I have 2 Sony A7S Mark IIs and an FS5 Mark II, and I cut all of that on an iMac, which has been the quickest solution for me.
Awesome. And then I want to mention that someone else was supposed to be on the panel that was involved in the Trailer Park Show, and I don't want to put him on the spot right now, but Gary, I do see you. If you are interested at all in the Q&A section in sharing how Trailer Park is going live, I think that would be beneficial to the audience here as well, because I know that was a StreamYard's production that was going out every Monday night. So if you're interested later on, you're welcome to kind of get background on the Trailer Park Show still going live.
Anytime. We're going live at 7:30, and as you say, we're just using StreamYard, and that's all we're doing, and it works great. It's very straightforward, and we haven't had any of our guests have any trouble. I think that people see it as being very similar to Zoom, and a lot of people have used Zoom.
Awesome.
I would say I think the biggest thing about StreamYard and Restream is there's no program to ever download. All you ever do is follow a URL, and that's it. So you don't have to have Zoom, you don't have to have Skype, you don't have to do any of that. It's literally just you send out a URL, it checks your camera and your audio, and you're there.
Yeah, and then you can have, I know in both, the Restream has a studio, browser version. You can do lower thirds, with like graphics, names. You can share Chrome tabs with audio to play videos. You can even upload stuff. You can chroma key inside of it. So yeah, I've used StreamYard a fair amount early on back in March. I was helping work with Tyrone Smith. I don't think is in here with Big Daddy G show, and we were using it. And I have good things to say about it, but we're looking into StreamYard as well, or Restream as well. So awesome. So I think I'm going to jump into engagement with audience. I'm not going to go around the panel, but just make note of Gavin mentioned going live at one point, in a show to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Periscope. You mentioned DLive and Mixcloud too, which is through, I believe, Restream, right, Gavin?
Yeah, it all goes through Restream. So like I could put you guys up there, and it feeds it all out and collects everything in one.
Awesome. And Claudia mentioned doing Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, and Periscope, which is it still called Periscope or is it just Twitter? I haven't used that.
I think it's
For
the Periscope.
Periscope, and I use Instagram and Twitch and YouTube and Facebook.
And all of that is through Caster?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's very easy because I only making the connection, and then every time that I'm going to streaming, I only push the button to turn it on, and that's it.
Awesome. And then Brandon mentioned doing Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. Jeremy is doing Facebook and YouTube, and then Cole, YouTube and Vimeo. You want to talk about say again?
For output, yeah, anything coming in interactively, if you have a separate device to get text messages or whatnot to see what people are saying.
What's Vimeo's platform like? I didn't see anybody else mention using Vimeo.
They're actually what is carrying the Criterion channel right now. They don't necessarily, they've kind of tried to go towards a paid storage model. So they have a weekly limit to what you're putting up there. So if you're trying to put your content on Vimeo, you may have to encode it in a way that lets it fit within the weekly minimum or weekly limits, excuse me. So.
Okay. And then just talk about engagement with your audience. I have a larger question about just kind of how your audience is adapted to workflows, but based on discussion and feedback from you all, it sounds like most of you are displaying comments that you receive. I know on Restream and on StreamYard, you can post, someone says something on Facebook, you can actually post that as a graphic on the screen. And so I think a lot of that is just kind of built into the software. If you use it, most of them are pretty user-friendly. But I want to talk about taking phone calls. Brandon, you had mentioned. You want to talk about your workflow for taking phone calls?
Yeah, it's actually really simple. We have a Google Voice Google Voice number set up through our Google account, and I have it set up so that it just calls my cell phone directly, and then via Bluetooth it hooks into the Rodecaster, and I've got the mix minus set up so that way they can hear us or anything we play, but they're not getting that feedback of them. They're only getting us, and everything comes out. So that's really simple. But prior to that, I ran Google Hangouts in a separate window and then pulled that audio. It worked, but it didn't always result in like the cleanest sound. Using the Google Voice through my phone through the Rodecaster has kind of resulted in the cleanest audio that we've gotten so far.
Yeah, and so for the Rodecaster is a little switcher that has different inputs and also has an aux cable input. Your phone has Bluetooth as well. So we recently just bought 3 of them, and so that'll be part of the training kit for the multicam kit that we have as well, along with bought a Blackmagic ATEM Mini, which is probably the mini version of what Jeremy said they were using, and then also a laptop with the software. So we have a nice kit that we're building out. So hopefully that training class will come here in the next few weeks. All right, and then Jeremy, do you want to talk about, you'd mentioned that you use a web forum for taking in comments?
So yeah, so like we don't put the phone calls live on the air for our Thursday show. But the way our Thursday show will be this Thursday from 6:30 to 8 on cable access. If you guys are interested to watch to see what we're talking about, but we don't go live with our audio because for a couple of reasons. One, we wanted to start this ASAP. We didn't want to have to figure things out, and I didn't want to. They probably wanted us to. But then two. Because it is a religious show, it's a call-in show, and you get debates and stuff like that. We wanted to be able to screen phone calls before they went live on air, and so I'll answer the phone here as the producer, and it's real simple. We just text or Google chat with the host back and forth, and that's I give them their time countdown that way too. We actually have a live audience as well, so. So we'll have some the audience, the members come back and give us questions that we would communicate to the producers or to the talent. And so, yeah, we're texting back and forth throughout the show so that I can give them information, let them know that, we're coming up because our show goes from 6:30 to 8:30 on cable access, channel 11, but then we actually go for another half an hour at least on YouTube. And we're also, we allow comments on our YouTube channel. And so, so we're communicating back and forth. That's where we get our questions from a lot more, even more than phone calls. And so what's kind of cool, like aside from the Thursday live show, whenever we got shut down and we had to do our church service online, YouTube chat allowed for us to have that kind of, hey, everybody's saying hi to each other, you know, and getting to see, everybody's in their own home, but they're watching together online. It gave it that feel that we're still a community. So that was kind of cool.
Awesome. All right, and then, so yeah, I think, you know, Claudius mentioned that you're doing comments, text messaging, Cole text messaging as well. Gavin also displaying comments. That seems pretty standard. Just want to touch on those, the ones that kind of stood out. And then next, I'm going to jump into internet advice real quick, and then I'll just finish up a couple of notes, and then I'll dive into a couple just larger discussion questions before we open it up to Q&A. But I would say internet advice. Jeremy, do you want to pick it back up and just, I can also remind you what you mentioned to me, but
yeah, remind me, because I wanted to just give real world in the sense of, hey, things happen, man. Remind me what I said, and then I'll go from there.
Using a wired Cat 6, and then
okay, yeah. So
server before streaming.
So so what I would say is, do not get discouraged if stuff happens out of your control. So like so I definitely, whenever he invited me onto this panel, I was like, I'm going to give real world experience in the sense of there's some ups and some downs. I mean, the up, you know, we broadcasted our streaming. We're getting people from England and California and other countries messaging us on YouTube saying, hey, we're blessed by your services. We don't, our church is closed over here. And so that's the high. It's like, awesome, man, we're reaching the world. And then the lows is, I get here on a Sunday morning and the internet's down and it's beyond my control, you know? And so stuff like that. And we pay for a business line. We're a church, we have, you know, and one of the most frustrating things, a little horror story, is that, you know, anytime our internet would go down, you know, is it YouTube? Is it Restream? And more often than not, it wasn't Restream. I'll tell you guys that. But, and one time it was YouTube. They updated their software, and there wasn't even a go live button. And then there wasn't even an end button. And it was like, what happened here? And that was for like about a week or two. And then so that's a free software that's out of our control, right? And the pastor's like, hey, why aren't we going live? I was, I don't know how. Like, that was Sunday we went live. We're going live Wednesday. Something happened in between. And another thing was and I'd always check our speedtest.net, right? If it's saying I'm not getting enough information to YouTube, I speedtest.net to see, well, is it low? And that's how we learned we needed to not be wirelessly doing this. And so, okay, I ran a Cat 6 across the building in the roof, brought it in, and everything's good now. But we realized we have to reboot because we're on Spectrum's network, and if business network, and if something goes down somewhere in Spectrum's network, it might jack up my router. And so we come in on Sunday mornings and Wednesday mornings, and we just reboot automatically. It's just part of turning lights on, reboot. The other thing is, everything was good in our system here. Everything, we even called somebody out. Everything was good in our entire complex. We're at the Cherry Creek complex. The whole complex is good. There's a node down that the typical Spectrum guy that comes to your business, he's not even allowed to touch it. And so they had to, get in, it was cool. It was done within a few hours, but there's things like that happen. And it's like, okay, you just got to roll with the punches. There's times we didn't live stream, but by and large, we have a show every Sunday, Wednesday, and then once a month on Thursday without a hitch. And I say this, I'll speak highly of Charles and Doug and the team there. Whenever we first wanted to start doing this, they troubleshot with me. I 3 or 4 times, because I was having trouble on my end trying to figure things out, and they bent over backwards to get us going. And it was just it was very much. This is cable access for Austin, and it's very much, what they're about is making sure that the community can get their message out, whatever it is. And so it was awesome working with those guys. So
that's great. Yeah, I will also shout out to Charles and the Austin Public team. I feel like this is a weekly thing for us. There's always a new show that pops up. We're having to do the tests. We send out a stream feed or code to the new person. But I will mention that the one area I feel like isn't represented right now is the live music side. And there's a producer, Sheila. I don't think she's in attendance, but she now has about 10 musicians that she's worked with, and they're streaming live on a weekly basis. And so it's enough that we want to host another one of these with a focus on musicians, because I think it's a great outlet for those musicians who aren't able to perform, at venues right now, and they're performing live on social media. And I've heard people bring up YouTube cutting out people's streams because of people copyright, not even like known copyright. And so we definitely want to get this as out to the musician community as an option. And so we may have be able to host another one of these. I don't think for time, I think Brandon's comments were very similar about making speed testing, resetting your router beforehand. But I wanted to see if maybe Claudia, from going from a church, actual brick and mortar building setup with some funding, and then going to see, Claudia, is there any kind of routine that you have for your internet and like getting everything set up, ready to go?
It's very simple. Only one time I get a lot of trouble. Then it's like the internet was gone and I have the show going on, but and then the computer starts to say they can get like the Wi-Fi from my phone, and then I guess it start to get it from my phone, the 5G, the 4G. And then my husband went to shut down the router and then make it again, then the internet coming up. But, sometimes don't get discouraged. Like sometimes I have the problem that I already have the program going on, but the program of OBS just got stuck and just get quit. And then I get like an error, what I can do. So I just restart again OBS, enter OBS. And the good thing is in the TV channel only get the frozen picture over there. So doesn't get in black, so thank you, Jesus. But just don't get discouraged. Just keep on going and practice make you perfect. Before take me like maybe 30 minutes to get everything ready, but now I can make in less than 10 minutes and ready to go to live. So everything is practice.
Awesome. And then I guess Cole, your situation, I don't know if it's relevant to know about Poland's internet services, but Gavin or Cole, anybody, if you have any final thoughts before we move on?
Just hardwire your computer. It's the best thing I could say. Mine is a little different since I'm broadcasting off of a shadow computer, which is in the cloud. So if I lose my internet, I just go onto my phone and open the app and it's still going. So I don't have those same problems since I'm not using my physical computer for it, but I can see how that could be a nightmare.
Yeah, and in my case,
no, go for it.
In my case, everybody in the crew brought up OBS to have content that they could stream from within Austin. I was able to ratchet if I was streaming from Europe, I could at least reduce the bandwidth so that it might still get through if the weather was bad, so to speak. And those two factors pretty much mitigated the outages that we would see.
Awesome. All right. And then just some areas that I'll just kind of touch on real quick. But it appears most of you all don't do like run-throughs as much now. Brandon and Cole said yes to doing a run-through. And then with Mackenzie, who's not here right now with Trailer Park Show, said that they used to early on but don't anymore. So I guess it just depends on, with Cole, it said depends on who's on the show. So I think, early on, if you're brand new at this, then you'll probably be doing some run-throughs, especially if you have other people working with you. And then you'll probably get pretty used to it. And then size of crews, it sounds like, Gavin can have anywhere from around 5 or so. Cole said 2 to 7. Brandon has, he's doing the production support and has two talent. Jeremy as well, 2 on-air talent. And then the production crew he already mentioned. But Claudia, I'd like to throw back to you real quick, because you did mention that at one point you can have 8 to 10 people on the air. And I know Mackenzie in her responses about this had mentioned that anyone on StreamYard, anyone over 4 seems a little bit harder to manage. Do you want to talk about your workflow for handling 8 to 10 people on air, Claudia?
Yeah, first I make like a list, and then in the list I say like what is going to happen in the program, and they make it like a timeline and says like from 7 to 7:10 this thing is going to happen and this is going to happen. So I make a list of everything, and then I plug the names of the people who are going to be in each one of the part. Like we have reading the scripture, another explaining the scripture, another tell about something that happened in his life. So we have different things, but most of everything, we get everything together and I send it to everybody so they can see what is going on. But I telling them, you need to be prepared for whatever happened, because what happened if somebody don't can enter? What happened if the internet of that person don't work? And then you need to be ready for everything. So everybody from the list of activities that I send, everybody need to be prepared for fill it up in case that nobody's coming. And then I says to them, but you need to be ready to asking to God, what do you want to say? You need to ask to the Lord what you want to tell to the people, because the people need it in that moment. So everybody pray before and they get ready. And then when there is the live show, we already have a list of these activities going to happen, and this is next, this is next, this is next, this is next. But if somebody feels that the Holy Spirit said that they need to talk, you know, God put everything together, that everybody get quiet and the person just jumping to say it. It's not like I'm going to say, now you go straight, only you need to go now, because really we let it on the Holy Spirit guide us. And then the Holy Spirit make it like at the right time and the right moment, that they can, like a weird specific topic of the Bible, the Lord is going to make that somebody remember something that happened 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and he can plug it in there. Although I didn't have that in the list, because we just let it to the Lord just guiding us. So in that way, for us, it's easy. I only make like a list of what activities we need to do it in the show, and I plug the names of who's going to do it, but we let it more than the Holy Spirit guiding us. And then when the program is over, look cool, because really God speaks to everybody in different way, and he put what the people need to hear it. Like, for example, last week we were talking about experience that somebody that had trauma when was little. And I was not thinking about that. But when the show was going on, the person was talking about what happened to him. And then the Lord reminded me something that happened to me. And we were able to talk about it and making that the people got to heal. So that's the way that we use it. But I make first a list of all the stuff that is going on, and then with a timeline. And sometimes we don't do exactly what is going over there. I don't know, I hope you can understand with my English, guys, sorry.
No, we got it. Right, let's just jump into just kind of more like a couple broad questions, and we'll open up to Q&A. I guess, Cole, I'm interested in, I wasn't interested in the internet in Poland, but I am interested in how your experience from streaming from Poland, and just how different that was, and how your audience kind of responded to transitioning to, in general, your experience there, but then also how your audience adapted and responded to you taking your show remotely out of the studio.
I mean, it was kind of there was a lot of chaos, because for a while we just went to reruns that we were curating remotely, or I was curating remotely. Sometimes folks in Austin would take over and curate different things. When we did go live, there were some where I was just performing solo. The choice to launch a different show this season was based around what can be done with one person and a laptop. Audience feedback, a lot of the folks that we had on the show, we would let them know if we were going to highlight stuff that they had done before. I had an opportunity to film the demonstration regarding Black Lives Matter in Krakow. And so I cut together a big part of that, and folks who had attended demonstrations in Austin and in other parts of the U.S. contributed footage. We had a local activist and poet, Jim Trainer, write an article, and we set that to some of the tear gas footage that we had received from people attending demonstrations in the U.S. Yeah, it's a big shift. It's not the same production at all, and yet it's been the same core of people contributing to it or motivating it. So,
yeah,
glad of any feedback we get. So.
Sure. And then, Brandon, I want to ask you about, is there anything that you've learned from, because I think it's fair to say that what you were doing in Studio 3 is fairly similar to the product that we see streaming now, right? I mean, it's a very similar setup and look, but is there anything that you've learned from having to take it from Studio 3 to home that will stick with you once you hopefully come back to the studios once there? I mean, it's not, now that we're in this, you know, now that we've learned how to do this, then it opens up so many opportunities. When venues start reopening, people can stream to us from concerts or sporting events and all that stuff. But, you know, let's say you do come back, what will you take away from what you've learned?
You know, I really thought about that question for a while. And off the top of my head, I can't think of anything directly that I'll take that I learned from this once we get back, aside from just the technical appreciation of how it's done, because having to set it up over here, software, hardware, stuff like that, more of an appreciation. But as far as anything that's going to improve that, nothing's really been made evident at this time. Now, when I get back in there, possibly, yeah. And, you know, might come into a troubleshooting problem and remember, oh, I remember when this happened when I was setting up. Let me try that. Yeah, that's really about it for that one.
Is there anything that's been particularly hard about transitioning away from this? And on the same side, has there been anything that seems, you know, easier than you thought?
Just getting all the settings right to get a nice, good, smooth stream. And that's anything from, you know, making sure, you know, your computer and the programs are updated. OBS stays updated, internet service, learning the little tricks. Hey, check your internet speed. The hardwire, I mean, I learned that, you know, early on. It's like, okay, wireless isn't even an option at that point because the speed difference is incredible. But the longest one, yeah, just getting a nice smooth stream. We used to have video problems in the beginning when I was trying to figure out that ideal bit rate for video, because my computer isn't anything fancy. I've got a bit of RAM but in there, but as far as like computing speed and power, it's not the greatest, but it'll still get the job done. I just had to find the settings that allowed me to do that and still pull up links and video that I needed to. And I found a real nice equilibrium by, you know, I just dropped the bit rate way down 1 week, and then the next week I bumped it up a little bit more. Okay, it's not getting overloaded. Let's try it again. Let me, you know, run through a whole show like that, because there's times when I throw a lot at the show. I've got them and then a picture-in-picture of, you know, a web browser playing a video, pulling that audio. And if it's going to get overloaded, it was going to be with something like that. So I'd make sure I can do those small moments without it overloading. And okay, I'm going to bump it up a little bit more. And I found that sweet spot.
Awesome. And then Gavin, I'm gonna come to you. And I know that you've been doing a lot of different types of productions way before, you know, the closures with COVID-19. So, you know, the same questions won't carry over, but just knowing the situation and knowing that someone's starting from potentially scratch, you know, something that, you know, like Cole said, that he had gotten it down to just his laptop. What advice do you have for producers that are just kind of starting to, you know, try kind of test the waters with streaming their content?
Know what you want to do. And like there'll be links from this. Go and try everything out. And just be aware of what your limitations are going to be with what you have. Because there was one time when I tested Go Lightstream. We hit live, and once we hit live, the whole thing just went crazy. It turned into like a strobe light show. Like all the videos they were gone. So we get online 30 minutes ahead of time to test everything out, because you don't know what to expect. It's not like you're in a enclosed environment where everything's already pre-wired. You're in the wild internet now. So you just need to prepare early and be technical enough to troubleshoot it. Like I always tell people, did you Google it? Because that's normally how you will fix it.
Yes.
Gavin, Margot wants to know if ShadowTech works with lousy internet connections.
Yes, ShadowTech, all it requires is a basic internet connection and an app, because it's a server data center based out of Dallas for our area. Gigabit internet, top of the line, everything. It used to take me an hour and a half to render our show off the Mac. It takes 15 minutes on a Shadow.
Wow.
So, and you can plug in USBs. I cannot recommend it enough. I pay $30 a month for it, and I get a terabyte of space and a top-of-the-line gaming computer, which is what you need for good streaming, every month. So I highly recommend it, and it solved all of my streaming problems because I don't have to worry about things dropping out. I can go whatever quality I want, and it's just stable and steady.
Awesome. And then, so I really want to get to open it up to Q&As, but just real quick, last thing, to kind of make it short, but I know that OBS is free and it's a great resource. We do have some training videos up on austinfilm.org and the Austin Public section of the training videos. And I'm happy to expand those if you want, but I just want to touch real quick with Cole and Claudia, because it sounds like you all have done a lot of your own research on that stuff. Cole, do you want to just do a quick shout out on where you've learned OBS? Is it mostly just Google thing, or do you have a specific YouTube channel or anything?
Mostly just stuff that the station had put forth, and then I started to use it and look at how it was setting up things. I would take a look at the classes at the station, and then I would point out that it's very modular, so you want to get an understanding of how they've set up scenes and elements within, because something that Claudia had pointed out, if you've got a pretty good idea of what your script is going to be, you can have scenes for each of those elements and move through them in OBS. And then playing around with what constitutes a video source in OBS taught me what filters you can add and how to set up to stream something from a remote server. So there is a little bit of a learning threshold in regards to how they organize individual show setups and the scenes that comprise those.
Okay. And then last thoughts, Claudia, on anything any recommendations for training that you've gone to?
First you need to watch the videos that Doug made, and they are really good. But in my case, I am always like a thirsty. I want to know more. I want to make it better, and I want to research more. So if I get an idea, I just go to YouTube and write it the word, and then I start to watching videos and start to trying on what works in my show or not. Like he was saying, Cole, that I have like the list. In my list is like the intro of the program, and then I have like a different kind of prayers, and then the end of the program. So I have things that I already have recorded, because really OBS is very cool in that you can do that. And then you can just put one file and go over there, and then people, when it's finished, people can go in live, and then we can put another piece of file. But the best thing is just go to look in the internet, start to researching. I just go to YouTube, and then YouTube is one of my teachers, and it's a free one.
Great one. Any before I jump into Q&A, any final thoughts, Jeremy, on what you've just heard? Anything you want to add?
No, I would just say that just be patient, like kind of what Gavin said, troubleshooting, just be patient with the troubleshooting when you have anything, and like these guys said, Google it. And, I would even say that, we have a community of producers here. So people who you might, if you see something, you watch one of these guys' shows and you see what they're doing, reach out. I'm sure all of us are willing to, give do what we're doing now, So that's what I do too. If there's other churches that I know that are doing something we want to do, I call a bigger church that's done it, and just go from there. So I would say for shows like this, reach out to whoever's doing what you want to do, go touch base with them and see how they're doing it. And then learn from them, because that'll cut out a lot of the learning curve for you.
Yeah, that's great. And I just thought about it also. I know if you want to come and kind of interact with your fellow producers, that's going to be kind of this time now to do Q&A, and then feel free to, ask any questions that might get some responses from other producers and shows. But if you have any suggestions, if this was really helpful, we definitely want to do these on, it could be monthly, every other month, however we want to do it. But if there's any suggestions on topics, or if you would prefer that we just have an open forum where there's not a panel and we just kind of hey, how you doing? What are you working on? I'm happy to host those as well. Just whatever gets us kind of in the same room talking. As Jeremy, that's a great point. Thank you. There is, we're still a community of producers, even though we don't see each other on a weekly basis at Austin Public. We're still out there. We're still producing. So definitely send me an email, either Doug @ or austinpublic@austinfilm.org, and recommend some other topics, or just say, hey, I'd love to do this, but I kind of want to interact with everybody. And I'm happy to, keep pushing these along. And again, we will get these multicam classes up and running as soon as we can once the gear comes in. So a lot of this gear that you've heard people mention, or the software, we are going after through our funding through the city to buy, to train, to producers. So just know that is definitely coming. So I'm going to open it up to the floor. You can either use, see there's another question from Margot we can read, but I'll just open it up to questions. Use the chat, or there's some staff that are going to be looking out for the hand wave, or the raise hand icon. But I guess Margot wrote, how best to handle stream to YouTube and Facebook if you want to take comments? Someone mentioned Facebook doesn't play well with others, so how do they get around that with live presentation? Anybody respond?
Yeah, Facebook will let people comment, but it won't post comments from other sources. So when you use something like Restream and it's pulling all the chats in, Facebook doesn't play well with people. So if you're just going to go to just YouTube and Facebook by itself, your best bet is to just pull them each up in a tab on a computer and just watch them, if you're not using something like Restream that congregates them all into one area. Because even then, if you want to respond to someone on Facebook, you're going to have to go manually do it. So I don't know why Facebook just hates people. That's all I got to say.
I was going to piggyback on that. When we did Restream, we did have Facebook and YouTube were the two main ones. And so we didn't get the real benefit of that commenting section thing. But so what we do is, the guy who's in charge of streaming and watching the stream and making sure everything's kind of going well, and kind of the director of our show, is actually the person who's monitoring chats on Facebook and YouTube when we were restreaming or streaming on Facebook. So we just pulled up a couple of things and we responding different places. So that's how we handled it.
Yeah, I would like to add, for example, in my show, we ask for people they have a request of prayer, so they write into us what we would pray at a specific. So we have a part of the program that we read that. And then the only thing that you can do is you can open the window of Facebook, go to your Facebook, go to your live program, and then over there you can see the list of all the people who is writing to you, and then you can answer them back. Or you can just tell it to the people. Somebody says a prayer for this, and then we give it the feedback in that moment. It's just open the window of YouTube, open the window of Facebook, and you can go straight to see it, what they are writing to you, and then you can respond to that.
Awesome. Anybody else have a question? No questions? You can chat it, or
If you click the participants tab, and there is a raise hand function inside the participants tab. So if you want to raise your hand, I'll raise my hand right now so you can see what it looks like. So just a little hello, or you can wave wildly, and one of our staff will try to monitor for that.
I mean, also, if there's not, I know that Larry, I see you're waving your hand. You had a question you had emailed me. You want to unmute Larry and ask your questions?
Okay. Question about, I think, Doug, you mentioned you might have a something up on the concerts or that type of thing. But has anyone put on some concert or at least have a musician guest that's performing live, or maybe pre-recorded to show on your show?
Like
Yeah.
for example, I have every show that I do, I have live people playing. So they are in their homes getting all the microphones and everything. And then it's easy because I already have everything connected. So wherever they are playing, they just go live. So it's simple.
So they can just set up their own set and then have one line feeding into whatever you're bringing in?
Yes, they already have, like I have a worship team, and I have different worship teams because depending on who is the invited one. So then when they are in their home or in their church, they only have an iPad or a telephone in front of them, and they have connected all their microphones and everything, whatever they do it when they go live. And then I get the information only from the telephone or the iPad, and they are using it. It's really simple.
Okay, great.
From my experience, I've seen both since I've helped with some shows, and it's either going to be just what the laptop is picking up, just like an acoustic performance, and the laptop picks it up. That's kind of the minimum. And if that's if that's what you have, there's nothing wrong with that. But I would just say if you're working with, and I know that Spotlight has worked with musicians who have their own gear, then I would check in with them, because it's possible that they already have their audio, their audio switcher, and their audio board, and mics and stuff, and have it routed into their laptop. And so it's possible for them to send you a pretty good audio feed that when they get into, if you're using our StreamYard or you want to use OBS or you have a Google Hangout or a Zoom call, they would then know to choose that audio feed that's coming into their laptop from their mixer. And so again, rely on the musicians themselves. If they have experience, doing this, or their own gear, then they probably have done this before. But there's nothing wrong with an acoustic performance of them just playing even on an amp in their room, and whatever's picked up by the mic, whatever you can do to get them out there.
And one follow-up. So you said you're going to have that kit available sometime soon, and then training for that, and any approximate dates for that?
So for training, the gear's coming in now. It was 2 big orders from. We buy a lot of our stuff from B&H Photo Video, and a lot of it is coming in this week. And then I have a quote out for some more gear. And our hope is to get those up and running and trained, hopefully in October, early November, once we get, because it's new to us as well. And so, but as far as, and I don't know if you were here at the beginning, but as far as our current operations, we are having to abide by the stay-at-home order for the city of Austin. And so we continue to work with them on what's possible. There's not going to be a full phase 1 reopen currently during the stay-at-home order, but there might be some flexibility there to provide gear once it's trained. But I don't have any specifics on that. I don't have a date on that, but I can tell you that in October, if you sign up for a camera class, editing class, and once you see the multicam kit class, that you will be able to come pick up gear and take it home to train, and then bring it back. And we're working on other workflows to get gear in y'all's hands. I just don't have any updates on those right now.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anybody, if there's not any other questions, I can go through here and see, but does anybody else have any experiences they want to share? Anything, best practices, or something that you haven't heard explained tonight that you want to share with everybody? And this is a time to share as well.
Gotta have something.
I've had OBS fail on me, freeze up only once, and it was towards the end of a show, and I was completely freaked out that I wouldn't be able to. It just wouldn't pick back up once I closed it and reopened. But to my surprise, it did. So we only ended up missing about 10 or 15 seconds, And because of the delay, once I got it back up, I actually went through to the Watch Austin Public just to see if we were, to confirm if we were back up on the TV station, because I didn't understand. I didn't know if maybe once it lost the signal, it would just go dead or what. And yeah, it picked right back up as soon as I started opened OBS and started streaming again. So that kind of gave me some comfort that if it ever does go down, just close it, reopen it, and bam, start it back up, and it worked. So a couple seconds of sheer terror followed by about 8 seconds of relief.
I guess the other thing is it's going back to knowing what you want to do. There's a major difference between StreamYard and Restream than there is between OBS, Wirecast, and Manicam. And that with OBS, Wirecast, and Manicam, your options are really, really unlimited. You can customize layout, scenes. You can have so many different scenes. There's so much more you can do. It's a lot more complex. Whereas with the online ones like Restream and StreamYard, there's set layouts, there's set options, there's a limit to the uploaded videos you can play. It's very straightforward and it's easier to use. So know what you want to do and what you're going to be able to do from home is it's really back to one of the basics of how do you want to do your show. I like to do complicated things. I like to control every little aspect of it. So that's why I go with something like Manicam and OBS. That's what I've learned across all of this.
Well, another shout out to the fact that we have StreamYard as a paid service now for Austin Public. So if anybody here in attendance is interested in using it, please reach out to me, Doug at austinfilm.org. I will say that we've tested it as a staff. We've had multiple people on there as staff broadcasting out of StreamYard, so we know it's capable of doing multiple broadcasts. But I believe that as people add assets, videos or images and stuff, that I think it'll all be stored together. So it'll just be a learning process on what it's like to have, maybe 10 different producers using it. But we have it, we paid for it, and it's a service that we can easily provide you if you have your own laptop right now. The login would be the Austin Public at austinfilm.org email, but you have to request the login code and that'll come to us. And so just email me about that. Happy to open that back up, and I will let you all know if we buy Restream as well. As I mentioned at the very beginning, I have a demo with them tomorrow. And Robert's asking about DaVinci Resolve. I don't have anything in the works with teaching DaVinci Resolve. I can reach out to our instructor if there's enough demand for it. I'm happy to teach anything that we've taught in the past before the shutdown. But I would have to look into that possibility and see where our instructor is right now, Sarah, who had been teaching that class. Any other producers, anybody who attended that wants to, any experiences, shout outs, anything?
When is that demo again, Doug?
So it's just with me or any staff, but it's tomorrow with Restream. So based on feedback from Gavin and Brandon, I looked into Restream more because I think similar to what Brandon experienced, we had looked at it. Charles knows it and had recommended it. We looked at it a while ago, and it was more of, as the name says, it was more of a Restream. But now I understand they have more of a studio, like browser platform for like an all-in-one studio that uses your camera and all that stuff. And so I want to explore that and learn more about it, but they have different purchase options, and I want to know which one's right for us and how we're going to use it with the producer base. So I'll know more after tomorrow.
I would like to add only that don't be afraid, just jump in and start the learning and have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I second that.
Yeah, I would echo that too. Just like so many times you wait for the best camera, the best gear, the best stuff, and you know what? Just go get stuff done, and you'll learn. And as more stuff comes available, like even like right now, Doug's saying they're producing these kits that you'll be able to do, multicam from the house, So why miss out on the time before that when you can just start doing something, get the content out there, and bless people with what you got. And just see, then grow from there, So I would say, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Claudia, because I think that's just, even as my position at church, when I go to different, what is it, like gatherings where we're talking about what you can do, what you can't do. A lot of times people are saying, you know, you got to get this camera, you got to get this gear, you got to get, and it's like, no, just, you know, get a camera, get some editing software and go and get something done, and then just see what happens with it.
Yeah, do not be afraid. Just jump in and have a lot of fun. And if you have any question, you can email me or you can text me, and then I can help you. It's better in Spanish, but I can do it in English too.
I also kind of backtracked a little because right now it just occurred to me that, I'm talking about all this awesome gear. We're obviously looking to get all this gear in and train it. But yeah, you can just jump on. I mean, I'm using a laptop right now. I'm using the camera on the laptop, using the mic on the laptop. I don't have anything, additional like Gavin or I see with Brandon. But I do have it. But I'm not using it. So I kind of got used to, like, at the beginning of the shutdown, I was like, oh, I need all this stuff, and add it on. And then I just kind of gotten used to using my laptop camera and microphone. But so that kind of piggybacks on the don't be afraid to, don't think you need all this stuff. Now, Austin Public, with the resources we have from the city and everything, we were able to, train that and hopefully eventually provide you with that additional stuff. But yeah, don't be afraid to just jump in if you have a laptop with a camera. If you have something to say, you want to get stuff out to the public, then just do it and work with us. So I guess what we haven't really covered, I can finish up with, is the workflow. So really, it's really easy. So Charles, our programmer, engineer, and studio operator, he programs the channels. He can be reached out, Charles at austinfilm.org. So pretty much all that needs to happen is you email us, say that you want to do a live show. We'll supply you with a stream feed and a code, and you just put that into, it's an RMT feed, and you just put that into wherever you're streaming out of, if you're using our StreamYard or your own software, OBS. And you basically just, once you hit start, broadcast, it'll send that signal to us and we'll have it programmed and ready to go. If you want a series, if you want to go same day and time every week, then that's something we can set up as well. Just like series in general, we are charging a small fee for that. So it's $15, from $15 to $30, depending on half hour, hour and a half. We've even added a 2-hour option. And then, so it just depends on what it is, but that would be for the full 4 months. So we started on September 1st was the new season for the fall 2020, and it'll end at the end of December, and then we'll have a new season, but you can jump in at any point. So that's really the only thing that we are charging for right now is series. Everyone's producer fees are still being frozen as we do not have on-site operations. So the potential, for not having those payments start up again may not happen until, December, once we have a conversation with the city about our on-site operations to coincide with the stay-at-home order through Travis County and City of Austin. So just know that the producer fees are being frozen, but if you do want a series on a weekly basis, then there is a small fee for that. But you can go live at any point. Let's say you just have a wild idea and you want to go live over the weekends. Just email Charles with enough advance notice, 4 or 5 days, and he can get a code to you, and we can do some test runs as Jeremy mentioned that, we'll work with you to test it all out. But I'm really excited.
I don't understand that. And so, but then you're going to have a specific time though, when it's going to happen. It's not just on demand. You can set up a time and then say next Tuesday at 8, I'm going to do this or something.
For sure. Yeah. So you need to work with us on the scheduling of that, because right now there are about 30 series shows. People are paying us time every week. So you will be programmed with us at, like you said, Tuesdays at 7. And you're ready to go live soon. You'll hit go live on whatever software you're using. It'll be live on the channels through our workflows. And then you'll have an end time. So it'll probably be 28 minutes and 30 seconds or 58 minutes and 30 seconds or however long. And then you're welcome to continue streaming. As Jeremy mentioned, they go 30 more minutes on YouTube. So you're welcome to have been streaming beforehand and after, but it'll kick in right when we schedule it on the channels. And that'll be channel 10, 11, and 16. One of those, and then it'll also be streaming on a Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire apps for Austin Public, and then on AFS's website.
Cool.
We had one more question about Restream and Zoom together. Has anyone used Restream and Zoom together?
No.
No?
Yeah, it sounds like you're going to do it, Margot.
You're the next one.
You can pull in your Zoom feed as like a desktop feed into Restream, but Restream's biggest asset is that it lets you stream to multiple destinations at once and handles all that for you, so you don't have to worry about all the different codes. Whereas Zoom is like this. It's a video conferencing thing. You would have to pull it into Restream in order to actually use it. So it's probably not that hard. You just share the window.
I would like to add something else, but it's not related to what we're talking. It's only that if you use the OBS or Zoom, you can recording it. Like right now, this is recording it. And then you can editing whatever part of the program you didn't like it. And then you can send it to the TV channel and they can put it again in a room program. That's it.
Ellen, do you have a question?
Yes. I actually have two questions. One is I'm wanting to do a podcast guest remotely, and I just have a question about whether or not it would be worth my time to get a microphone for my guest rather than just relying on audio for them through the computer. And if so, like a USB microphone. Obviously, I don't want to give something super expensive out to a guest that might not come back. But any thoughts about that?
I have experienced this before where they were using their AirPods and it sounded exactly like they were having that. And they already had those. A lot of people already have something like that. Like, just find out what they have before you dedicate to sending them a USB mic, because simple, like, phone headset mics sound really, really good. AirPods sound really, really good. Bluetooth AirPods for Android sound really, really good. They probably already have everything they need. So just find out before you decide to send it to them.
Great,
But what
thank
would
you.
you suggest if she did send something? Just
Yeah.
microphone?
Well, there's a ton of USB mics. Like low end, probably like 35 bucks to like $100 that are going to sound fine. But like Gavin said, honestly, just a pair of wired earbud mics will be fine, because it's not really about the type of mic so much as how close you can get it to their mouth when they're talking. So as long as they're speaking directly into a microphone, it's going to sound better than what you'll get with them speaking into like their computer microphone, which is usually going to be like 2 or 3 feet away from them.
Right. Thank you, Charles. Can I ask you one thing, Doug, as well?
Sure.
I'm just wondering, when we are scheduling online, it's kind of cumbersome to try to juggle my schedule with my guest schedule and then kind of guessing at what times are available. And I'm wondering if there's any thought about going to more of an availability calendar, such as you might get when you book a hotel, where it shows you these are the times available, you know, kind of in real time. Do you think that's a possibility in the future?
In the future, it's tricky because it's right now, we use a program called TelView for our programs, and Charles is usually a few days out programming. But if you're talking, or a couple weeks in advance, let's say you're planning that out, then I would be happy with making a downloadable spreadsheet. So Charles and I have a spreadsheet that has our current series, and I'll just remove emails and other stuff, but I can just have that posted as a downloadable link to austinfilm.org, so you could download it and see when the shows are, because that's the only thing that you're gonna know is when people have paid for that day and time for that 4-month span, and
Right.
you'll be able to see where the holes are. So if you're planning 2 weeks in advance, then it's a pretty good chance, really high chance, that if it's not at a time when a series is, it'll be available. But if it's in a 5-day window, then the chances go way down, because Charles has most likely already programmed out the channels. And right now we just have the daily schedule online. That's something that we know that we want to expand, but that's what we were able to do. I think we did that about a year or 2 years ago. So that's probably the best I can do right now. It's not a same situation like the gear. The gear, you go onto the portal and it'll tell you what's booked already. And it'll actually have a conflict grid and everything, but that's built into another system that we use in Salesforce. So if I provided you the days and times of the series for all 3 channels and all 7 days, would that be helpful?
I think it would definitely be helpful. And it's, what happens is I have to go on and pick a time and then call and wait for a response. And if they can't make it, then we kind of play this whole game over and over, and it gets a little just cumbersome more than anything, I think, for everyone. But so, yeah, having a schedule, I'd be happy to book a couple of weeks in advance. So that would definitely help me.
Yeah, and there's plenty of time. If you think, there's about 30 series between 3 channels, then there's a lot of time to fill in there. But yeah, I can see how it can be hard to know when something's available if you're trying to work in the, a week or 2 out. So yeah, I'll definitely put that on my to-do along with some of the other stuff that came up, and I'll make that downloadable on the website.
Great, thank you so much. It was a great production tonight. I appreciate it.
All right, we are at 7:32. Anybody else have any final questions, thoughts? I had the schedule till 7:30.
Oh, I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
Robert?
Yes, Robert.
Yeah. You touched on that scheduling, the posted schedule online. And you said something about you're trying to get it where maybe it will be a few days in advance. The reason I'm asking is that, it switches over at midnight. Well, I've got several shows that are kind of floating. And I try to notify whoever was on the show, like message the band or someone, hey, you're coming on at 8 tonight. But it means I have to be up at midnight to find that on the floating periods there. And if you could do it maybe a day or 2 in advance, I could give them a kind of heads up that, oh, tomorrow at 5 in the afternoon, you're coming on 10 or 16. Are you planning on updating that where it might be 2 or 3 days in advance also?
For sure. So TelView, which is our playback system, has a pretty robust schedule built into it, but we've had some issues. So we're currently undergoing a firewall project at Austin Public. We're working with the city's technology management team. And so we've had some issues with TelView. It's been kind of our web host designer, TelView, and our engineer trying to figure out how we can get that larger TelView schedule embedded on the site. And it's been a struggle. And so we've figured out it's our current issues with our firewall that we are replacing. And so once we are able to get our new firewall installed, then I'm hopeful that embedded TelView program or schedule can be put on the websites. Because what we have right now is actually developed by someone who uses WordPress, which is our host site for the website, and not through TelView. And so yes, we will always be pushing that to make sure that happens, but we kind of hit a standstill with our firewall issues that we're trying to replace first. But you should be able to, once you get that, you'll see the whole schedule of the month and click a day and be able to see the schedule. So that is our goal, and that's been our goal for a little while.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And then I'll finish up with, because Robert also asked me, contact. So, email is great, but also our phone number, 512-478-8600, extension 19 comes to me, 25 goes to Charles. We have call forwarding. We're working, about 10 to 6 during the week from home. So just any questions, please reach out to us. Email is also great way because I can link things and send you handouts or whatever I need to send you. But I think that's a wrap since I scheduled it till 7:30. Any other follow-up questions you have, please feel free to email them as well.
Doug, I did have something, but I'm okay to send you an email. That's no problem.
For me,
I waited until the end because I don't think it's, it's a little more generic. So, okay.
Is it for me, Don?
Yeah.
Yeah, then I'm happy to, I could probably, if people want to head out, I can probably stop recording and I can just chat with you for sure.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
If you're okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. But thank you for everybody for participating. It was great to see everyone's face. Thank you to the panel It was very informative. And again, if you have any suggestions for these in the future, just email me. I would love to have this be a recurring thing for sure.
Thank you, guys. God bless you.
Bye, everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,